What's up everyone, Guy here with another Presents. This time I'm talking about Pensacon 2018, which I just got back from. It was a great weekend, had a lot of fun. Unfortunately, towards the end of it, I started coming down with a killer cold, which I'm still getting over right now. So if I sound a little raspier than usual, that's why. Hello and welcome to Pensacon! So Pensacon happened at the end of February, and it's definitely something I've been looking forward to for a while now. A lot of great events, a lot of great costumes, a lot of great actors and stars to interact with, a lot of cool souvenirs to find and buy. Definitely just an awesome time overall. There were a lot of great meet and greets at Pensacon, though I primarily focused on voice actors this year. Among the highlights were Dan Gilvezan, who played Bumblebee in the first Transformers cartoon back in 1984, as well as Spider-Man in Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I also met Charles Martinet, who plays Mario for various Nintendo games. He's probably one of the happiest people I've ever met in my life. He's very warm, he's very friendly, very funny, and he was just really neat to talk to. I also met Chris Sarandon, who plays Lord Humperdinck in The Princess Bride, as well as the voice of Jack Skellington in The Nightmare Before Christmas. And one of the true highlight voiceover actors was George Lowe, who played Space Ghost on Space Ghost Coast to Coast. He might actually be Space Ghost as far as I'm concerned. He was definitely a highlight to talk to, and I really appreciated the autograph that I got from meeting him. I also got to meet Tracy Hickman, who is one of the co-designers of Ravenloft from Dungeons & Dragons, because I always liked the lore of Ravenloft, so it was really cool meeting one of the team members behind that. There were a lot of great panels this year as well. One of the highlighted panels that I went to on Friday night was, I'm going to mangle this name, I know I am, Dacre Stoker is the great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, who wrote the original Dracula. The Stoker estate granted him permission to write an official sequel for the Dracula novel. I haven't had a chance to check that out, but that will probably be on my reading list this year. Saturday was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of my time either going to acting, writing, or voiceover panels. Among the panels was one called Real Crimes, which talks about films that aren't really talked about that much anymore. And it was really interesting. One of the hosts there was Bill Corbett from Mystery Science Theater 3000. He played the voice of Crow. I really thought a lot of their takes and dissection of film was really interesting. Saw a lot of voice actors do an interpretation of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Poor Dan Gilvezan got stuck with playing Jar Jar Binks more than once. For lunch, we went over to the Atlas Oyster House, which is broken into 3 van groups over there. They had Star Wars, Star Trek, and Harry Potter. The interesting thing about the Star Trek restaurant, which is where we ate, they were promoting that they had the warp core breach from Star Trek The Experience. And true to form, it had the dry ice and many different kinds of rum.
Man, this is just like Vegas. Oh, so cool! I'm going to drink most of this, except there's no Enterprise bridge. Oh wait, there is one in there. Yeah, I'm drinking this.
And it was a lot of fun. They also had one of the Borg alcoves from the Borg Encounter at the Star Trek Experience, so it was a nice little homecoming for me. I really appreciated that. The great thing about Pensacon is that downtown Pensacola really gets into the Pensacon experience. All the bars and restaurants all have their own little geek things going on, and people are wearing costumes, and there's a lot of events, and it's really, really cool to enjoy and just walk around and see everything and everyone that's going on down there. Was planning to do a couple things Saturday night, but by that point my flu was really starting to kick in, so I kind of had to pace myself a little bit. Sunday was a little slower, but we did get to see a bunch of great panels. Among them were talking about film, and it had 2 of the Super Trooper guys from it, and that was really funny and informative. George Lowe did another panel, which again, he's just hilarious. He's like his own one-man show. I enjoyed him from Space Ghost, but I'm like die-hard fan squealing about him now. Attended a writing workshop with Carol Barrowman, who is John Barrowman's sister. She had a lot of really interesting things to say about how to keep yourself in the present tone of voice when writing. Definitely taking some notes for that, for some of my own writing projects. And also did a G.I. Joe retrospective with voice artist Michael Bell, Neil Ross, and Marvel Comics writer Larry Hama. I really enjoyed that panel. It had a smaller attendance, so we were able to sit front and center and really interact with the creators. And it's interesting hearing these voice actors talk. That was one of the big highlights for me all weekend, because it's a lot of their speaking voices that we've heard on cartoons is their normal speaking voice, or they'll drop into like their voices, I'm sure, for a lot of fan service. Kind of a cool nostalgic rush, because you're basically talking to the person, but at the same time you're kind of hearing some of your favorite characters that you grew up with on TV. And it's a fun experience. I definitely recommend talking to voice actors because they really do put a lot of fan service in what they talk about. And it was fun walking around the convention floor, the vendors area, because there's always something that's tempting. You always see a lot of things. We got a couple Star Wars figures and a book or two, and that was pretty much it outside of autographs and photo ops. But I had a really good time. It was a shame that I started feeling really badly by the end of the experience. I'm still getting over my cold now, so it's going to be interesting to see my voice quality when this is all said and done. But I had a great time despite feeling like garbage, and I'm definitely looking forward to Pensacon 2019. They're already hinting at a lot of Indiana Jones actors, which should be really, really cool. And as far as conventions go, Pensacon, for being such a new convention, is really a nice, well-done convention. They're very courteous, everything's pretty well organized, and the whole town getting into it actually adds a lot to the overall atmosphere because you never truly leave the convention because everything's so close to each other, and even restaurants and such that aren't part of the experience get into the whole excitement of it, and that makes it a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend Pensacon. Hopefully I won't feel like a truck ran over me this time. Anyway, that was my experience at Pensacon. I had a really great time despite some health limitations this time out, which unfortunate, but If you have any questions about Pensacon, or would like to know a little bit more about some of the pictures or some of the other panels, I tried to cover basically everything I went to, and I was glad to see as much as I did. But here I am back to my normal video posting schedule, and I've got a couple other subjects I'll be talking about in the next few weeks, trying to come up with some new ideas, so kind of bear with me if my schedule seems a little inconsistent in the near future. I've got some ideas. I'm just working on it right now. But in any case, it's all geek to us. Take care, you guys.